Hi, everyone. We are back with the Becoming Magnetic podcast. Now, we've been off for a few weeks, but we're so excited to share with you today's topic. It has been in the works for us. We've been like, we've got to talk about this. And what we are going to be sharing with you today is really how to survive the holidays as a woman that's single, you're unpartnered, but you are whole, you're complete. And how can you actually just show up in such a way that keeps that sense of your magnetism?
Yes. So today's episode, we've called it Single, Whole, and Magnetic, Navigating the Holidays with Grace and Power. Because the holiday season can be a joyful time, but it can also be a stressful time. And it can bring pressure when you start to go get those questions when you
Oh my
see
God.
people at gatherings, right?
Yeah, no doubt. And we just want to remind you that the Becoming Magnetic podcast is really for women who we believe powerful women deserve powerful love lives. So in every season, whether you're partnered or not, yes, you deserve as a powerful woman to have a powerful love life. So whether you're single or dating, or even taking a break, or simply waiting for the right alignment, we talk about that. This episode is about grounding yourself in your worth, not anyone else's expectation, as we love to say.
That's right. And we're talking about and by the way, we did not plan the festive
Oh,
coordination. We didn't plan this. We
yeah.
logged on and noticed that we both happened to feel red today. So we're giving you a little bit of, if for people who celebrate Christmas, a little Christmas spirit, a little razzle dazzle. Not planned, but speak when I hear alignment, definitely Kai and I found that today with the outfit choices. But we want to have a conversation about how to handle that question. So, are you seeing anyone
Oh my
with
gosh.
with confidence and being able to stay rooted and grounded in your vision of love so you can walk into the holiday party, the family gathering, friends gathering, whatever it may be, feeling whole, feeling centered, and retaining, keeping that magnetic way of being.
Absolutely. I am I'm trying hard not to every time you the question of are you dating one, I'm trying hard not to roll my eyes, right? As I do in real life as well in those settings. But it can be such a tricky situation. We for those in the US, you've just celebrated Thanksgiving. Back in October, it would have been Canada, and we're moving it into the end of year, whether you celebrate Christmas or not, if you want to just call it end of year holidays. It's a time where you are going to be more and more in spaces where you're meeting up with family and friends, and the one of those topics is always going to be about your dating life, right? If you're not seen as coupled, if you're not seen as partnered. And so what we wanted to do is just have a real conversation about that. And first of all, just acknowledge that when this comes up, it can be uncomfortable. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you are not happy with yourself within yourself, right? Because we do know that you can be joyful. You can be hoping for love, but still being joyful, going about your life and feeling happy. The reality is that the society that we are currently living in is built in such a way that there's that expectation that by the time you get to a certain age, you should have attained this whole matter of being partnered, and they see that as an incompletion. So if you are not partnered, they see that you're not complete. Whereas the reality is that you can be whole and still desire partnership. The two things aren't mutually exclusive. So I just wanted to start off the conversation with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's important to start with, because we can have a desire to be in relationship, and it is natural and part of our genetic makeup to desire it, but we're also whole and complete. We come into this world with everything we need essentially, right? um, all the talents, the the tools, the inner wisdom to live a great life, and at the same time we want to share it with somebody, potentially, right? So we can operate from that place where we allow society or family, friends, expectations to put us in a one down or make us feel like we're less than or in a position of lack. Or the alternative is to realize that our desires are, we can have them, honor them, and be working toward them, as you mentioned, while also enjoying our time, our singlehood, time for growth, time for development.
Yeah, and this whole matter of lack, it it can develop in us a sense of a scarcity. You know, you don't have this thing. You don't have a partner, and there's nothing wrong, as we were saying, where you don't have the partner, but you still desire. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But if we're not careful, what can happen is you get into this space where, because there is this feeling that, oh my gosh, I've not attained this thing that I desire. um I should have by now had someone. We can end up shrinking ourselves or find ourselves in situations where we are over explaining. I know I've been guilty of that in the past, where I show up in family settings and I desperately would want to avoid the aunties because I knew the question is coming. I had already trained my mom. I had trained her. I said, unless I bring to you a conversation that says ring is coming or something like that, like I'm dating, no, I wouldn't get married without telling them. Have that relationship with my parents. But um I really had got to the place where I got my mom to appreciate that there is this really un wanted pressure from her to, you know, date someone. You're not dating someone. But it was the aunties. It was the aunties who know I was dreading. But little did I know that my older cousins were now onto me. So I remember being at a gathering where I was having a good time, was in my element, showing up fully. And then out of nowhere, one of my older male cousins said to me, "So what's going on? You know, no kids, no man, like, what's new?" And that caught me off guard because I was just like, what? I've survived how many days here? How are we now having this conversation?
I'm wondering
And
though, how long had it been since you had seen this cousin
why it's
or
been
talked to him?
it was a couple of it was a couple of years. So it's one of those things where my I'd say that my male cousins, I don't necessarily have such a close relationship with them. We're close from the point of view that if we see each other when we meet up at family gatherings, it's on, right? We have a good laugh, have a good chat. But just like talking on the phone, it's just not something we do. So it was probably, I don't want to say it's good 2 to 3 years since we had met at a family gathering.
Mm.
So we didn't really have conversations. But that's always the first thing. They always check to see if well, they would have known if you got married, but they always check to say, hey, what's going on? Which I find so, it's listen, this is what happens, right? As a society, that's what we expect. You get to a certain age, it should happen.
Yeah,
And yeah, go for it.
and yeah, that happens too in social other contexts too, not just with the family, but maybe it's a holiday party for work, and there
Yes.
are coworkers that you may have had from different stages in the career, and at what point you may have been seeing each other 5 days a week or whatever it may be, and then they don't always keep up with the story,
Yeah.
and it's not anyone's fault, but you just haven't been in touch over the course of a year or several months, and one of the first things they want to check in on is your romantic life.
Yeah. And I think, the way you've asked that you've positioned that actually has just made me think a bit of a revelation in that in a way it's not so unusual then, where if it's the case you have not seen someone in a long time, you're almost like catching up with them with what's going on with them. Yeah. I think the thing that's always a little bit daunting is there's such a focus on this element, the romantic element, um, because as a society, that's something that we center this whole matter of being in a romantic relationship, whatever partnered for us looks like. Are you partnered? And so I think you're right when you position it like that in saying, whether it be family or even other social settings, there's that sense of you actually having conversations. So how are you? What's going on with the family? What's going on with this? What's going on with that? And if you are not known to be having your own family, having your own partner, then that is something that's likely to come up in conversations. I think it's a fair observation, really, from that perspective. I guess the question for me is, when you find yourself in those positions, like how do you navigate that? Because
Yeah, yeah, and part of how we answer the question turns on how we perceive the question,
yeah,
which is something you've just opened up. All right, so if we perceive the fact that we're still single
yeah,
to be a reflection of our worth or lack thereof, or feeling like there's a limitation or something is wrong with me for
mm,
being in a relationship, then the response in turn would be something that might come across as defensive or um, apologetic. But if we receive the question as just this is someone who likes me, loves me, wants to see the best for me in life, wants me to have that family structure, or thinks that I might be a wonderful wife or mom, and wants to see that from me in this life, then the response might be something that's a little bit more playful, a little bit more um I don't know what word I'm looking for, but light.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And you have touched on something that for me in recent spaces, coaching spaces, has come up in terms of assuming good intentions from from individuals. And again, it's not about being naive or pretending as if, especially if you know the individual in front of you, and if you kind of have an experience of where they're coming from. I'm not saying to ignore that, but what you've just touched on is almost not assuming that the question inherently is there to get to catch you out, to show you up, um, but that there might be genuine interest in, you know, just finding out, so how are things going in that aspect of life. And to that point, I think there's something about um, when we talk about the intentionality, the intentional approach when it comes to dating. In episodes 3 and 4, we spoke about being very clear on what it is that you are looking for, right? And if you are very clear on that, then part of that might be, hey, do you have a community, a trusted community that you're actually okay with saying to them, hey, yes, I am looking, and this is what I'm looking for. Um, because in fact, there are cultures where, and you and I spoke about this, Rosalind, it's actually the family that is helping to find a partner for said daughter, said son. And we're not just talking strictly about arranged marriages. We are talking about where within a family or friendship circle, we know that this person isn't partnered, but they desire to be partnered. And so there's this kind of looking out to say, hey, well, I know so and so, and helping to bring them together. So what I am saying is, in those conversations, yeah, just, you know, let's not always assume that the person is coming from a place of bad intention. It could be well intentioned.
Yeah, right. Assuming positive intent and then being ready to have a, if that someone is someone who truly has your best interest in mind and cares about you, then you can have a meaningful conversation if you've done your homework, right? As Kai mentioned with episodes 3 and 4, your own work before showing up at the event so that you can be clear on what it is that you desire and who you're willing to become, to be, to have it. And you can have a candid conversation with that loved one or close friend who wants to look out for you.
Yeah. Um, and so don't assume positive intention, right? Where there are conversations that, whether intentional or not, because sometimes what is intended is different from the impact that's felt by you as an individual. Um, if there are situations where it doesn't quite come out right, or it's not landing well with you, um, we encourage you to be prepared. Be prepared for thinking about how do you want to handle it. Um, Part of being magnetic is being able to show up fully as yourself, um, in a way that's truly authentic. You can still be acknowledging your own feelings, but then you have a responsibility in how you react in those situations. So, how do you want to show up in that situation where someone might have asked you the question, and it you are either clear that the intent was malicious, or it feels as if it was a bit malicious? How do you respond to that? And one of the ways that you can be thinking about is a redirect, you know, redirecting that question. If they're asking, hey, so still single, or, you could, in essence, rather than giving a response that might be, a little bit angry, or you could be literally saying, well, I'm still looking for XYZ person. Do you know anybody that fits that profile? You know, Rosalind, what else could they be doing to kind of help in that situation where it's the intention, either the intention seems malicious or it feels it's a perceived malicious intent?
I mean, I might not even engage in talking about what I'm seeking if, what I desire with someone like that who's intentionally being a jerk, essentially. And I would probably just say, oh, I'm just enjoying my life and then move on to the next topic.
I like that. I like that. I like
Because,
that.
I mean, and, our audience doesn't necessarily know, but I'm always doing something. I have my activities and, you know, studying spirituality and have my yoga practice and I go on retreat. I travel. I do a lot of things by myself and I don't necessarily feel the need to have someone to do them with. And so you can, shift the focus to something else that you enjoy or is lighting you up so that you can keep yourself grounded and keep the vibe high, so to speak, at this, and be able to still enjoy the event and not let that one person get you down.
Yeah. Um, I love that kind of authenticity and that grounding, where you're not even giving energy or more air time, to where there is, something that's not comes off as, a malicious intention with a question like that. Um, and I think along those lines, you've spoken about just how full your life is. And that's part of what we want to talk about today, in terms of really just allowing yourself to not just saying it that I am whole, but acting in that way, really living that out, of making sure that your life is filled with the things that really fill you up. Um, because it allows you then to be, as we are saying, you are whole. Because unfortunately, when we are seeking partnership and we have this sense of lack and scarcity and incompleteness, we can then end up making dating choices that are not really in alignment with what we're looking for in the first place, because our judgment is being clouded by this thinking of scarcity, that I don't have this thing that I so desire. Um, but when you are whole, when you are already, fulfilled, what it does is it really allows you that clarity and that lightness as well, going about life, um, even as you continue to allow the thing that you desire to be coming to you, to um, you're magnetic, you're drawing it in. Part of that is this wholeness, this match of being having a fulfilled life.
That's so important that you brought us to that point because you could see a scenario where, you know, we have one of the our ladies who's at an event, and someone asks a question, and maybe they don't have the best intent, and I'll frame it as if it was me, and then I start to feel bad, and maybe the man that I wanted to meet, or that I was supposed to meet, is at this event, but instead of me continuing forward being light and playful and magnetic, I'm now in a space where I feel insecure and I'm sulking around the party, or I leave early, then I don't get to meet him. And there's a missed opportunity. Alternatively, say I'm at a family gathering or something, I see other people with their spouses and children or what have you, and then I start to feel bad, and then I make a poor choice. I'm, texting my ex, or just, you know, I don't know, going out with, or spending time with a guy that's not in alignment with what I said my vision of love fulfilled is, or the
Mm,
things that I said that I'm looking for in
yeah,
someone, just to fill a void
yeah,
of feeling like, I'm the only one, or I'm not, booed up and everybody else is.
yeah.
So it's important not to go unconscious during this time.
Absolutely. You said that so beautifully. And it brings to mind some of these holiday romantic movies we've seen where usually it's the woman, but occasionally they use the man. Um, stereotypes there. Who is going to a holiday party and basically, last minute drags someone or beats up with the ex because they don't want to go and have to face, the questions or the looks or the pity or whatever it is. And so in that case, they are making decisions out of that lack of feeling whole and fulfilled. And so one of the things we wanted to do, we always like to leave you with a tool or exercise, and one of the things we want to do today is be consciously prepared. You know, when we are moving into these spaces, um, the very thing that can energize us, which is being around loved ones, being in that community atmosphere of party and fun, can also drain us because here comes auntie with a question, or my cousin, or whoever, or just as Rosalind described, it's your own feeling, which we totally know can be natural. That feeling of I feel like I'm missing out on that very thing that I desire. So we want to do an exercise today. Um, invite you to be intentional about preparing for those spaces. And it is an exercise that Rosalind and myself really love. We do it with the women in our Becoming Magnetic community in that 7-week course that we do. And it is about really boosting yourself before you step into potentially triggering or loaded environment, right? We want you to really anchor yourself emotionally. So here's what we're going to ask you to do. So if you're driving and listening to this podcast, this is not for you to do in this moment. Make a note and come back to it.
Yeah, safety first.
Safety first. But if you are in a safe place where you can do this, we invite you to do this right now. All you need to do is grab a mirror, so stand in front of a mirror. If you don't have one close by, you could use the camera on your phone, okay? And you are um, really going to allow yourself to be in a place where you are zoned in on you. Quieten your thoughts. We've done the exercises before of just bringing yourself into this quiet mind. So quieten your thoughts, zone in on you, look yourself in the eye, like I'm doing right now. Look yourself in the eye, and we invite you to use these affirmations. Say them slowly to yourself. You can say something like, I am whole and complete, or I have everything I need for a joyful, fulfilled life. My life unfolds in divine timing. What is delayed is not denied. And even as you're saying those affirmations, sometimes it helps to actually repeat them. So say it more than once so it can really sink in and connect with you. And once you've done that, I want you to ask yourself, how do I want to show up today in my energy, in my presence, in my joy, in the space that you're going to enter in? We've given you examples of affirmations, but certainly we invite you to also write your own, something that might be connected even more deeply with what you know that you often feel going into those spaces. The whole idea is you're filling yourself up before you go into these potentially loaded environments. So that's the exercise.
And the one I might add as a tag is just to look yourself in the eye and tell yourself that you love yourself. Call yourself by name. So in my case, it would be Rosalind, I love you.
Kai, I love you. Thank you for that, Rosalind. I really like the calling the name, saying your name out, hearing your name in that space. Um, so that's an exercise. Do it as often. Do it before you have to go into a gathering. Don't do it on the doorstep. Do it in the car if you need to, but don't stand on the doorstep doing it.
Yeah.
um,
Calibrate early.
and we'd love to know, if you do that exercise, we'd love to know, when you've done it, how did it make you feel? How did you feel afterwards, having gone into those spaces? Did it help? We'd love to have your feedback on that. But yeah, that's our little activity and your mission for this holiday period to prepare you before you go into those spaces.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, Kai. So we want to thank everybody. Thank you for joining us for this holiday prep edition of Becoming Magnetic.
Yes. And as always, we've mentioned it a couple of times before. We do have a group that we run with women just like yourselves, um, and it's such a vibrant and loving community. We take them through a 7-week program about becoming magnetic and becoming magnetic, and we'd love to have you join us. So the link is in the description box, so you can check that out. You can also check out Rosalind's beautiful YouTube channel. Do not forget to check her channel out. You'll find some wonderful free content there that will also help you in these periods. But our hope is that as you walk into every room this season as a single, whole, and magnetic woman, um, not defined by your relationship status, but that you will, in fact, define yourself first by simply the value of your presence in those spaces.
I love the sound of that. I'm literally tingling hearing that. So,
So,
are we ready to close it out until next time? Okay. Again, thank you all for joining us. Until next time, keep choosing grace, truth, and keep doing the work to become magnetic.
exactly. Happy holidays, and we'll see you on the next episode.
My name is Rosalind.
My name is Kai-Nneka, and you have been listening to the Becoming Magnetic podcast. See you next time.
See you again soon.